Sounds like a plan. All right, welcome to Section 31, episode number 341. I'm Dan Hammond.
And I am Rogue Schindler.
This week, it's kind of an in-between week. We didn't have an event. Well, we had a small event. We had a Tribbles event locally.
Very
But
important.
in 2 weeks, we've got the countdown to Gen Con. We'll talk a little bit about that. Maybe not much. We'll talk a little bit more about that next week. Also, we've got Vulcans are kind of being not spoiled yet, but trickled out. Maybe
Teased.
Yeah, tease is a good word.
Yeah.
But let's start. So last weekend, you know what? I do have spoilers of a sort. Do I have any with me? Oh, now I got to run outside and get them. I should have done this before the show started. So last weekend, we put together. I think I put together 20, maybe 10 of each of the 1E and 2E tournament kits for the next season. So they should be live in the next couple of days. I just need to do a final count and put them up so that I don't sell more than I have, because that's always a disaster. But we put together a lot of them last weekend on Saturday, hence the reason for stopping for a Tribbles tournament. But sure. I had the chairman, I had a 1E designer, and I had one of our playtesters and myself. So we had four volunteers putting together cards. Cutting things up was my job. Marking them up was Charlie's job. And cutting things up with Brian's job, and then he switched to marking things up, and Thomas and I put together cards. We put together a lot of cards. We put together cards for the Continentals, the last of the Continentals promos for Australia. They got in the mail overnighted to Australia today. Charlie dropped them in the mail FedEx. We finished cutting up the Ambassador gift cards. So those are going to be marked over the next couple of weeks and put together. I'm thinking I might put them together, taking a bunch of them with me to Gen Con, because I know there's going to be a lot of ambassadors there. So I'll be able to divvy those up and send those out. We also put together, as I said, the tournament promos. And I want to say there was at least something else. Oh, we put together the last of the Masters promos, so that we're good for the rest of the year on those. So it was a great, productive weekend. Bunch of cards are ready to go. So look forward to new cards going up in the Promenade soon for tournament kits, tournament directors. So awesome. Yeah, they look great. And yeah, I don't know what's been spoiled, but I can tell you my favorite image for first edition is an AI of I want to say an AU card. I'm looking really quick to see if it's there. Yeah, it's been spoiled. That was the one that was been spoiled. All right, it's Edo Probe. That was amazing. It's Picard kind of off to the side to the bubble instead of just the bubble. Looks great. Yeah, bubble's nice and shiny. On the 2E side, man, did I pick? I got to check and see if I picked the other one. Boy, what is that card called? Greater Needs? Greater Needs, yeah. And it is also the one that was spoiled. All right, well, there you go. Both of those they look great in printed and foil. There's an artifact for 1E. There is, I think, another dilemma for 2E and a couple of personnel. There's no ship this time. I think it ends with a Klingon. But anyway, they look great. I'm looking forward to putting those up, and folks can use those in their missions, for the tournaments. So we had around
yeah, these look pretty good.
Have they all been spoiled?
I think so.
Oh, well, that's fun.
Yeah. Tournament Series L. Yeah, sorry, there's your Edo Probe.
All right, well then I have no spoiler. Edo Probe looks fantastic.
Hey, you know what?
Tribal
seeing him in foil is way different than it is.
Oh, and that mission.
So
that mission is shiny and bright.
That mission looks
awesome.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah. All right.
That certainly was my first pick for. I think that's going to be the coolest foil.
We should continue the trend of when we make AI or when we make foil missions, they should all be color, because they're much easier to cut out than if they're just stars in a star field, because you can never tell what the 1E border is. Not a problem for 2E, but anyway.
The 1E missions are such a pain to cut out. Awful.
Yeah. All right. So that said, we had a round of Tribbles. Brian pulled out this deck that he says, yeah, I don't think I've played this in a long time. Maybe I'll try this. And it was a rescue deck. And I tell you, no one else at the table. I think I had 2 recycles, and I might have hit them once, but it was the perfect time to play it, because we were just not set up to counter a good discarding, evolving rescue deck. And Brian took the day. It was only 600,000, but Charlie came in. No, I eked out the second place with 300,000 and 420. Charlie just had 300,000, getting the bonus 3 times. And Thomas still in range of winning. Only had 131,000. But
always in striking distance.
Yeah, always in striking distance. We always have a good time. We put together cards for a while. We stopped. We played triples. Then we went out and grabbed a bite to eat. Came back. We opened a couple of Magic packs and played Draft Wars. Cleaned up the cards. Stacked them all up in piles of 9 or whatever, and I got everything put away. So, excellent weekend. Good company. Made a bunch of cards. I'm looking forward to putting them up in the promenade. So, fantastic.
All right, that sounds fantastic. Yeah. Well, I did not have as nearly an interesting card game related weekend, but I did go visit some family, and I got some Star Trek related news from my sister, who was I didn't actually get to see her in person because she was in Las Vegas for the annual Star Trek Las Vegas convention there. They had a big blowout last year because it was the 50th anniversary, but this year is the 30th anniversary of The Next Generation, and the entire cast was there, and all 7 plus Tasha. So they had a whole 8-cast panel, which she had a great time. She finally got to see Patrick Stewart, which she's always been envious of me after I told her the story of our Dragon Con Excades. But now I'm envious of her because she got a rare opportunity, very expensive opportunity, of having a photo op with the entire Next Generation cast.
Wow. I can't imagine how much that was because they're usually pretty pricey individually.
Yeah. So that was but what an amazing experience. Can you imagine? Like, I'm sure that had to be costly, but when is that ever going to happen? I know they did a kind of a mini series of 25th anniversary panels where most or all of them were there at like 5 or 6 cons, but they didn't do anything like that from what I heard. So this might be like the first time they did a full everybody together with you photo op. So that sounded amazing.
I would have to have that. I'd have to be the first or second person in line. Have the picture taken, get the digital copy, go get it printed right away, and then get back in line again for everybody to sign it.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, jump right in the autograph line.
Wow, that's amazing. And
so that
do it while you can, right? I mean,
exactly. Who knows? I mean, they're all, they're getting on, but they're not, like they're still TOSers hanging around. Sure, be fine. But yeah, Patrick Stewart probably is. Yeah. But that was really cool. That was probably the biggest thing she did. But the biggest thing I was excited about to hear from that was Disruptor Beam was there as a guest, which is the company that makes Star Trek Timelines, the phone game that many of a continuing MIDI player is also a player of. And their big news, aside from some of the interesting revamps they've done recently, is this fall they're going to have a massive influx of new crew because there's going to be a new show.
Oh, so they get to tie into that?
So they get to tie into that. I mean, they have the full Star Trek license. It's Timelines. They have literally every series, but who knows? They don't do the movie tie-ins for whatever reason. That kind of makes sense. The Kelvin verse. But
the series isn't in the Kelvin verse.
It's not in the
Kelvin verse. All right.
So yeah, they announced that starting sometime after September, probably mid-October, they're going to have crew and ships from Star Trek Discovery. So that I was just talking to Charlie about how they haven't had an influx of less than purple crew recently. It's all been purple and gold and no new green or blues. And that would be great. You can have all these new characters. You can have, a starter crew and a rare crew, and then you can start bringing in new ones, new versions of those. I'm looking forward to having events with those. I'm sure they probably do
Oh
an
man, can you
in-game
imagine
event.
tie-ins with like premiere and
Yeah.
season finale? And wow, that could be really fun.
So that, I mean, I was already having a good time. They had a really nice sort of revitalization of interest with their big recent update back in spring, early spring. But that's really got me excited. So something, if you haven't heard about that, if you're a Timelines player, I think a lot of our listeners are, something else to look forward to.
Nice. Interesting. Well, I think I'm looking around. I don't think I have any other Star Trek stuff to talk about. The set I'm working on is going along fine, but we're getting a new set coming out soon. We got the Vulcan warp pack, and
The pre-warp
sorry, the
pack.
pre-warp pack. That's right, which perfectly named.
Yes,
Um, I'm
inspired.
I'm really I really want to make a Vulcan deck to take with me to Gen Con to play in that Masters, just because it would be funny. I mean, you got
Uh,
mirror personnel you can throw in, and a couple
yeah,
of random Vulcans, and it'd just be different, right?
yeah, it would be fun. Mix everything together, and that'd be great. It'd
All
certainly
right.
be something new and interesting to play.
Yeah. I think we should hold off on our Gen Con prep until next week, since it's going to be like the day before we fly out, right?
Agreed.
All right. I did go digging. It's tangentially related to Star Trek. I found some cards. I found my Black Riders.
Ooh,
Um,
wow.
I found a pile of 13 of these things. I should have offloaded them when they were probably worth something.
Wow, yeah, you should have.
Yeah. I found my Countdown collection cards. I found my Black Riders. I found my Wraith collection. Uh, I found 2 decks that were put together. I I honestly
Do
remember playing
you know how
one
to
of
play
them. No, I think one of them was just a cheap personnel swarm deck, and the other one was just big mains and toys. Um, Unfortunately, half the mains are in Tengwar, and I have no idea what the cards do. Is there? I
There's probably a translator.
I feel like I should go on the site. So what I found was there's a wiki going on, kind of like a continuing committee light, I guess. But they
Sure.
have links to things, and one of the links is to the old Lord of the Rings online module. It was like Worlds Apart or something.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, it's you can't update it, and it wants to update, but if you just launch the thing without going through launch and check for updates, you've got it's pretty much a whole glossary of all the cards
huh.
with pictures of everything. The pictures are kind of janky because they're made for the online game, so the text looks a little weird. But I'm thinking about just going in and printing out the cards. I don't know what to do.
Um, have you considered looking for a lackey plugin?
That's where I went first.
Oh,
And,
okay.
that's where I went looking for it, but I couldn't find anything. There's
I'm
apparently
surprised.
another online console type thing that people have been using. Um, and if I might be able to find it, but um, I don't know. I don't know if it has all the stuff in it or what. Why is the wiki down? Naturally,
Why is the rum gone?
yes, it's with the ant drought. All right. Well, anyway, I found those cards. I found a couple of decks. I figure I'll put them in my bag. Maybe eventually, if we have some time, we can play a game or something. Do you have any decks still put together?
No,
No. Do you have any cards left?
I do. I actually, the last time we downsized stuff, I want to say I still have my binders. I went through down and, um, I we had the binder full of play sets, or had a binder of one of everything, so you could see. And then, except for rares, all my rares were in binders, and then everything else was overflowed into boxes. And the last time I downsized my considerable shelf of CCGs, I filled up the binders so there had play sets of everything I had play sets of.
What is the
And then
playset? 3 or 4?
4.
4. Okay.
And then I got rid of everything else. So I have the minimum, bare minimum of what I had before. I could certainly put something together.
I mean, how far did you collect that Lord of the Rings?
I did through the movies. I was
Okay.
I was I was determined, the collector's mentality, got to get through all 3 blocks because I started Return of the King, but that came out right before I moved from Boston to here, and I had a pretty solid group out there, and I didn't know any. I just never like you kind of played, and
Yeah,
like
I
one
remember
other.
going to at least one event, but it was not. There
There
weren't
was
a lot of
just not
people.
a yeah, there was not a regular group that played all the time, and it kind of fell away. I collected the next 2 sets for the rest of King Block, and then they made it really easy for me to decide whether or not to keep playing by screwing the game. So
Yep. I found the remnants of a box of bloodlines that I picked up at some point, that we drafted and played for a while. I found a box of rares and all the commons from that outside, um, out in the warehouse. But yeah, I know I've got. I don't think I collected as much as you did. I think I collected, like a bot. Well, certainly this box came from somewhere, right? Uh,
sure.
so I probably just picked up packs here and there, and I found my completely stamped Countdown to King thing. So I must have bought packs, every day
Oh
for every
yeah.
week for a couple of months to get that stuff. So I don't have a big collection, but apparently I have enough to make 2 decks. So
Well, if you pick, do you know what you pick a path, or tell me what path your decks are, and I'll try to put something together to bring to Gen Con.
that seems like a long way to go just to play cards.
It does, but we have a lot of cards to play.
And we have all Wednesday, right? Okay. Uh,
Maybe.
Fascinating. I've got one. I think I've got one king and one tower.
Okay.
So whatever.
I'll,
Um,
I'll see if time comes up for that. I'll look into it.
all right. Very good. I don't have anything else. So let's just wrap up with
All right.
a note that unless you have something.
No, I think that's sufficient. We covered what we've got. I think we'll look a little bit more into some. Hopefully, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say a spoiler for next week for Live Long and Prosper. A spoiler next week for our Gen Con schedules, what we've got planned, Gen Con preview, and what we're hoping to get out of this con. I've got a list, um, but and then we'll of course come back after Gen Con, not immediately after Gen Con, uh, with a wrap
Correct.
because we're going to be blinded by the light. Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. Oh no,
By the
they finally
dark.
came in. I've got my eclipse glasses right here. So
Awesome.
yeah, right on.
Well, that's all we got this week then. Uh, in the meantime, I am Sarog,
And Amsterdam.
and I'll remind you all to expand your power in the pre-warp universe.
And I will elect not to move a second time to end.